I want to ask you a simple yet very effective question. Are you being busy or are you being productive? Because there's a distinctive difference between the two. And this morning I was laying in bed and I made a tweet about this, which is that I wrote, a lot of people are doing stuff without actually doing anything. It's the equivalent of cooking with the stove off. And I went further on to explain this on a call inside my free community where I talked about how a lot of people just try and throw everything they can into the pan because they think that the more stuff they throw into the pan, the faster they'll get to where they want to go because they're putting more stuff in, right? And let's just say that the more vegetables you put in, for example, the quicker you can get to your outcome because the more vegetables you put in, the more vegetables that will cook, the more vegetables that you can eat. Rather said, like in business, the more actions you do, the more inputs you do, the more stuff you add on to everything you do, your sales, your marketing, the more people you hire, etc., the faster you get to your goal, right? Well, no, because you could have the biggest pan in the world, and you could throw in thousands of vegetables, right? Let's say your goal is to make 1,000 vegetables. Like your goal is to cook 1,000 vegetables to feed 1,000 people, for example. Okay, or in business sense, your goal is to make $1,000 or $100,000, right? Whatever the fuck the case is. And so you're like, okay, well, what if I just like do more DMs, new emails, and cold calls, and hire more team members, and this and this and this and this and this? Well, let me ask you a question. What if you're cooking these vegetables, but the entire time you're adding more vegetables, you're trying to get bigger pans, and nothing's working, and you keep adding more stuff, you're like, well, if I keep adding more, I'll get to my goal closer, quicker, right? But what if the reason why you're not getting there is because the stove is off? What if the reason why you're not getting to where you want to go is because the stove isn't even on? You're throwing stuff in the pan, you're adding more to it, because the more you add, the quicker you can get to there, right? If you want to make 100 grand, if you want to cook 100 vegetables, you throw 100 vegetables in, right? You should be able to cook 100 vegetables sooner, right? Well, wrong. Because what if the stove is off? And so I had this realization the other day that a lot of people are cooking with the stove off. They're trying to make their vegetables, their dinner with the stove off. And I myself was doing the same. I was very busy and I wasn't productive. Busy as in there's a lot of stuff in the pan, but productive, how close am I actually getting to my end result? Well, I wasn't getting close at all because the stove was off. And so I had this realization that sometimes less is more. Sometimes when you take things away, it's not about adding more. Sometimes it's about taking things away, doing less of what you're doing now to do more of what actually matters. And this vegetable cooking example, it was taking some vegetables out of the pan, trying to do less at once, but focusing more on the quality and the effectiveness of the vegetables that I am cooking and making sure the stove is on. And when that happened, I was able to cook the vegetables perfectly, and then boom, once they were done, put in a new batch. And on and on and on and on and on. I moved a lot faster than when I tried to put all the vegetables in one pan. It's like the question that I want to ask you is, are you cooking? And if the answer is yes, is the stove on? Or is it off? Are you just trying to do a bunch of shit without realizing what's actually happening? Or are you being very peculiar and cautious of the result that you're getting from the actions you're doing? And so I guess I'll wrap this up and I'll end this off with saying that a lot of people are busy, yet they're not productive. A lot of people are doing a lot without doing a lot, if you get what I mean. Right? A lot of people do a lot of stuff without getting a lot of stuff. They do a lot, but they do a whole lot of nothing. Is kind of what it is, right? They're doing a lot, but it's a whole lot of nothing. It's like 9 to 5ers, right? They may work a lot every single day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, if they don't make a lot of money because they're not doing a whole lot of good stuff, right? I know entrepreneurs who work 16, 18 hours days, whose monthly recurring revenue or even annual recurring revenue hasn't grown at all, just stayed the same, plateaued the entire time, despite the fact that they work more hours than anybody I know, including myself. Why is that? It's because they're busy but not productive. They're focusing on the things that don't actually matter. They're cooking, but the stove is off. And so I want you to ask yourself, is the stove off for you? Is your stove on or is your stove off? Do you have too much on your plate to where even if the stove was on, it may be on a really low heat, that it's not really cooking because there's so much stuff that the heat actually can't get through and cook what it's supposed to do? Maybe you have too much stuff on your plate. Instead of trying to turn the heat up or even add more stuff in, you need to take some away. You need to take some vegetables, take some activities away from what you're doing and do less. Doing more by subtraction. It's a really cool concept where you can actually get more and do more by taking away instead of adding. It's a really, really, really cool theory where if you want to do better, do more, whatever the case is, like get somewhere, instead of actually doing more, you can subtract. Addition by subtraction is, I believe, the methodology that's called. Super, super cool, which is essentially where you gain by not adding new, but by taking away. So you can focus more on the stuff that does work. The way I look at it is what you do is you do something over a period of time. You look at what worked, you do more of the stuff that worked, more of the good. You look at what was bad, you do less of the stuff that was bad. You end up working less, but you're more productive because now you're focused more on the activities that yield you a result. So hope I've given you something to think about. To ask yourself, are you being productive or are you just being busy for the sake of being busy? Because I tell you what, if you're busy all the time, yet you're still making no money, you're probably doing something wrong. Okay? And if you can't figure out what that is, join my free community. Love to chat with you and figure out what that is for you to help unlock that inner beast and help you make a bunch of money. Anyways, peace.